Hello, class. Today I'm going to go over homework 12. Homework 12 have only 3 questions, but have a lot of information. So I'm going to start with the handout I'm going to attach to Canvas. So when you go to Canvas, you're going to see this file available with the homework 12. So homework 12 is about piecewise defined function, and you have a have different function for different x's. So if you look at this example here, absolute value of x is pretty much negative x if x is less than 0, and it's x if x is greater or equal 0. So for different x's, you're using different functions. Okay. So pretty much when you graph it, so that's what you're doing today. We're going to graph piecewise function. We're going to graph the function, all the functions involved. We're going to graph them in the specific domain or specific value of x. So let me show you how to graph that. Actually, you have example here. So this is the example, and you have the graph, and I'll explain how to get there. So you have to graph the function g, which is x plus 1. So the function is x plus 1 when x is between 0 and 2. Now, if you notice here, we have x is greater or equal to 0, and x is less than 2. That means you're including the 0, but you're not including the 2 in that interval. The second part of the function is the second graph. The second piece of this function is 0.5x, and this is the case when x is greater or equal to 2. So you have to pay attention to those greater or less or equal, if you have equal, if you don't have equal, and stuff like that. And graphing that is really easy. You're graphing both functions, both pieces of the functions together in the same graph. So how you do that? So first I'm going to start with the top one, the top piece, which is x plus 1. So I know x is between 0 and 2. And looking at my function here, x plus 1, this piece of the function g of x, this piece is a linear function, so I need only 2 points to graph it. And the points I'm going to use are going to be the end points. You have 0 and 2. So x is between 0. I'm going to use 0. And also I'm going to use 2. Now, on the graph, I'm going to include the 0 because you have it less or equal to 0. But I'm not going to include the 2 because it's less than 2. What that means on the graph? That means when I graph the 0, the point at 0 when x is 0, the point is going to be filled. So it's going to be filled point like this. Okay? And because x is less than 2, the 2 is going to be open circle, okay, on the graph. It's not going to include the 2 because x is less than 2. So open circle means we're not including that point on the line, okay? I replace x with 0 in x plus 1. That's my function right now, x plus 1. So when I get x plus 0, 0 plus 1 is going to be 1. And when I replace x with 2, 2 plus 1 is going to be 3. So those are the 2 points I'm going to use. Point, and the other one is going to be open circle. So I'm going to put this in the side just to keep in mind that the 2 points are going to be different. They're going to have different representation. So this is how you do it. I'm going to graph 0, 1. 0, 1 is the point over here, this point. I'm going to highlight it. It's already there. 0, 1. You see how it's filled. And 2 and 3 is this point, which is open circle. So when you put those 2 points, you're going to connect it to straight line. And that's my first piece of the graph. The second piece of the graph is going to be when x is greater than 2. So when x is greater than 2, we're going to pick again 2 points for x to graph it. Just a second. Okay, so now we're going to grab the second piece of the function, which is 0.5x. And now x is greater or equal to. So for the second piece, we're going to use 2 points. The first point is going to be 2 because that's the end point. That's where you start. So we're going to use 2 for x and the point y. So let's say using 2. And then you can pick any number bigger than 2, but make sure it's in the range. The scale given here is to 5. So let's say I'm going to use 4. Okay, so I'm using 2 and 4. And I'm gonna replace x with 2 in this function. 0.5 times 2. 0.5 is 1/2, so half of 2 is 1. That's how we get the y. And then 0.5 times 4 is gonna give me 2. So those are my 2 points. So I'm gonna graph now because they have equal, and this continue, the graph continue down, right? We don't have end restrictions here. So starting from 2, going to infinity pretty much. So because you have greater or equal to 2, this point 2 and 1 is gonna be filled. It's gonna be full point. It's not gonna be open. Okay. So you're gonna graph 2 and 1. The first point is 2 and 1. And this is the point here, 2 and 1. And if you notice, it's full, it's not open, it's not empty. And then you're gonna graph 4 and 2. So when x is 4, y is 2. So this is the second point. It's not there, but pretty much the graph continue to infinity. So just connect those 2 points and just put a straight line with the arrow in the end. That's why you have the arrow in this side, because the graph continue to infinity. Okay, so this is how you graph piecewise function. Pretty much you're graphing a straight line the same way you're graphing straight line. The only difference is you okay, so we're back here. We have homework 12. So I'm gonna open first question. And so this is the actual question I have from my homework 12. And I screenshotted 3 minus 2x and x plus 1. And it's the same question. So I'm gonna explain how to graph it, and then we're gonna pick the right graph, because here you don't need to graph it actually. You just have to pick the right, there are 4 graphs. You have to pick the right one. Which one of those 4 graphs is the graph of the piecewise function? So all these 3 questions, they're the same way. And I have them on my file. So let's do this. So again, what you're doing, we're gonna start graphing the first one, and you're gonna pay attention to what is x. X is less than -1. So I'm gonna use -1. And because it's less than, I'm gonna use open circle. The graph is going to be open because I don't have equal. You don't include the number if it's less than or greater than. So if you want, let me write it here rule. So if the sign is greater or less, we're using on the graph, we are using open circle. Which is, I mean, you saw how it looked like. The line stops like this, open circle. Now, if you have, let me insert greater or equal, or if you're using less or equal, I have to find it. I don't know where is that. There you go. So if you have one of these symbols, if you have greater or equal or less or equal, then in this case, you're going to use on the graph we'll use field point, which means on the graph is going to look something like this. It's going to be circle and it's going to be filled with ink. Okay, so that's the difference between those two. So now looking at my first graph again, the first piece of the function, 3 minus 2x, x is less than 1, negative 1, so I'm going to pick negative 1 and another number less than negative 1. Now keep in mind this is I'm just going to do the number line so I can see. You have 0, you have negative 1. The next smaller number is going to be negative 2, negative 3, and so on. So if you're in the negative side of the number line, the number less than negative 1 is going this way. So that means you could be negative 2, negative 3. I'm going to put negative 2. Any number to the left of negative 1. And then what you're doing, you plug it in negative 1 and negative 2 in this equation. The function right now we're using is 3 minus 2x. So when I replace x with negative 1, I'm going to get 3 minus 2 times negative 1. And I'm going to write it down here. 3 minus 2 times negative 1. And that will give me, so this is actually y. I'm solving for y. And y is going to be 3. So when you calculate it, it's going to be 3 plus 2, which is 5. So the number here is going to be 5. So when x is negative 1, y is 5. And then you're doing the same with the next y is going to be when you replace x with negative 2. So we're going to have 3 minus 2 times negative 2. And when you do it, you can just plug it in the calculator. It's going to be 3 plus 2 times 2 is 4, which is going to be 7. So that's how these numbers here is going to be 7. Okay, so those are the 2 points you're going to graph. Now, because x is less than, this here continues, so it's going to be error in this side. Okay, so you're going to start from negative 1, 5. You're going to have open circle, and then at negative 2, 7, the graph is going to continue that way. Okay, and then, so let me graph that first. And I'm going to graph it right here. Let me just draw. I didn't put a line, but I'm going to do it like this. So the first point I'm going to graph is negative 1 and 5. So I have negative 1, negative 2. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on, let me make it a little bigger. I need 7. 6, 7, 8, and I'm just going to open it like that. So I have -1, -1, 5. So that's going to be the point over here somewhere, -1 and 5. So it's going to be open circle. And then, so this is 5. And this is -1. And the second point is -2. And you're going to go to 7. So let's say this is 7. So I have -2 and 7 is the next point. And then the graph is going to start from -1, 5. It's going to cross and it's going to go, it's going to continue, sorry. It's going to continue this way, okay? So that's one piece of the function. We grab the first piece, the first function. The second one, I'm going to use just different colors so you can see the difference. Let's do green. So the second function I'm going to graph is x plus 1. This is my function now. And in this case, x is greater or equal to -1. So I'm going to make the table here for that. I'm going to need x and y. The x's you're going to pick. You're going to start with -1 because it's one of the points. Now, in this case, so looking at my number line here, I have -1 is here, but you're going greater or equal. So you're going to start with here and you're going to go this way to the right of -1. And you're going to pick any number after that. Doesn't matter. I'm going to pick 0. You can pick 0, 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter. So now, let's see what's happened with the point -1, because at -1, I have greater or equal. That means this point, the first point is going to be open circle or fill circle. This is going to be, you're going to fill the circle. It's going to be point on the graph, which is going to be filled like this. And then because it's greater or equal, I mean, whatever it's going to. So now let's plug it in. When x is -1, we have -1 plus 1 is going to give us 0. So y is going to be 0. And then when I replace with x plus 1, x is 0. 0 plus 1 is going to give me 1. So those are the two. Okay. And how you graph them? Just look the same graph, the same place. We're going to graph -1 and 0. So -1 is 0. It's right in here. This point is going to be fill circle. It's not open. And then 0, 1 is this point here on the y-axis. So the graph is going to start from here and it's going to continue with arrow this way. And this is how my graph should look like. We're going to have those two pieces. So now let's compare. Let's go to the graph and see which one have something like that. Now here we have to pay close attention which circle is filled, which one is open. So I'm going to make this smaller so I can compare. See, the line is going up. To the left side is going up. Right side is going up. Both of those are going up. So it looks like the first one, right? Let's double check also if you have the last one is going up also. Okay, so A and D are one of the right answers because we have, see, this is my graph again. So start at -1, it's filled, and 1, 5, it's open. Continue, let me see what is the difference between. And so I have in the middle so I can compare. So looking at my, let me write something in my screen so you can see. So looking at my graph, this is graph A. This is graph D, and this is my actual graph in the middle. So what you have to look at, this is where you're gonna be careful, you're gonna pay attention to the circles. See, here we have open circle, and here we have closed circle. Now, both of those graphs looks the same. The difference is between those two circles. Now, which one of the graph is open in the left side and closed in the right side? So that means this is my right answer. The A is the right answer. If you compare all the three graphs together, the correct answer should be A. Okay. I'll give you a second to look again. The circles are very important because those are the places where is the difference between graph A and graph G. It should be open circle in the left and filled circle in the right part of the graph. Okay, so the right answer should be A. And let me clear all the drawings. And I'm gonna pick graph A. And I'm gonna submit so we can check it together. And that was the right answer. Okay, next question is the same way. This is the second question, the same way. You just you have from 0 to 6. So for both of those have less or equal. So both of those points are going to be with circles from 0 to 6. And then the next one starts from greater than 6. So you can pick 6 and something else, 7, 8, whatever you want. And then you're going to graph those. And so I'm not doing this the same way like number 1. I can do number 3 because number 3 has 3 pieces of the graph. So let me go ahead and do that. Number 3, I have it here. Number 3 is the one. So this is number 2. I'm not doing that. Is number 3. Okay. So number 3, I have 3 pieces of the graph. So now we're going to graph the first one, which is 2x. And I'm going to use the table. So the interval x is between 0 and 20. So I'm going to use that 2 points. I'm going to use x. For x, I'm going to use 0 and 20. Those are my 2 x's. Now, both of those points are going to be filled because I have it equals also, right? So this is going to be filled point. And the other one is going to be filled point. Okay. So I'm going to plug it in 0 times, when I replace x with 0, I have 2 times 0 is 0. That's the y. And when I replace it with 20, 2 times 20 is 40. So that's my first graph I need to have. I have 0, 0, 20, 40. And actually, I can put it right here. And I'm going to use a little bit. So I have 0, 0, start from 0, 0. And then going through 20 and 40. So let's say this is 20, this is 20, and this is 40. Okay, so I have 0, 0, start from 0, 0. Let me do it with green. So I'm going to start from 0, 0. And then 20, 40. This is the point. It's also filled point, is not open. And you're going to connect those points with straight line. So this is the first piece of the graph. Then you're going to look at the second piece, which is x plus 20 is the next one. Now the x is going to be between 20 and 40. So the table for the second graph is going to have x is going to be 20. The first x is going to be 20. And the second x is going to be 40. Now, when I replace x with 20, the function is x plus 20. So this is the function. This is where I'm plugging in x plus 20. So when x is 20, 20 plus 20 is 40. Y is going to be 40. Then when x is 40 plus 20, give me 60. So those are the 2 points I'm going to graph. Now, let's think about, are they going to be filled or they're going to be open points? So 20, 40, see x is less than 20. So 20, here, this symbol tells me that 20 is going to be open circle. So the first point is going to be open circle because x is 20. See, in this table, the first number is x, the second number is y. That's how we know. So the first point is going to be open point. Now, the second point when x is 40, so now we're looking at this symbol here. I'm highlighting it. We have it less or equal. That means the second point is going to be filled. It's not open. Okay, so that's what you're graphing now. I'm going to need a little bit more graph, but more place here, but let me. Okay, so this is what you have. You have, this is 20. This was 40. And then I need to continue to 60 right now. Probably I'm going to have more. So this is 20, 40, 60, 80, and so on. The scale by 20. So I have down here, we have 20 and 40. So now we're going to start graphing. Okay, so this is the x. And this is the y-axis. Okay, so now we have, let me graph it with blue. The first point is 20, 40, which is in the same place where this is, right? 20, 40 is right here. So it's already filled, so that means I'm gonna just put a maker that open circle, but it's already filled from the first graph. So it's gonna be pretty much connecting the two lines. And then the second one is 40 and 60. Let's say this is 40 and 60. And this is gonna be filled point. And this is gonna be my second graph. So it's kind of continual line. It's a little in a different angle, but it looks pretty much continuing line, okay? And then the next one, I'm gonna grab the last function, which is, the last one says 0.5x plus 30. So this is what I'm graphing right now. And in this case, x is greater than 40. So the table I'm gonna need here is gonna have x is 40. That's where you're gonna start. And then you can pick anything bigger than 40. You can take 50, 60, whatever you want. Let's say 50. Okay, and you're gonna plug it in. So when x is 40, I'm replacing it here. I have, let me write it for you. I have 0.5 times 50, times 40. I'm gonna write it here. So I have 0.5 times 40 plus 30. And when I put this in the calculator, this should give me, let me put it here. So 0.5 times 40, it's, what is that? 20 plus 30, it's 50. We should get 50. And then when I do the other one, which is 0.5 times 50 plus 30. I'm just plugging it into the function. That should give me 2555. Okay, so that's how I get the y coordinate here. So the first number, when x is 40, I'm going to get 50 is the y. And when x is 50, I'm going to get 55. So we're going to start graphing. Before that, let's see, is it going to be open circle, closed circle? What's going on here? So because I have greater than 40, that means you're not including 40. That tells me I'm going to use a 40. When x is 40, it's going to be open circle. But it's already closed in the same place, so it's going to continue. Then 50, 55, the second point is going to be an error. Continue through that point and just go into that direction. So we have 40, 50. So 40 and 50 is going to be open over here somewhere. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but somewhere here. Right below 50, below this point. So it's going to be down here somewhere. That's 50. 50 is between 40 and 50, right? And then the next one is 50. So let's say this is 60. 50 is going to be, so this is 60 down here in the x-axis. So 50 in the x-axis is going to be here. And then 55. So the line is going to go like this way somewhere. Okay, so this is how the graph is going to look like. And I'm going to make it smaller again so I can compare with my answers. So these are my 4 answers. I have 3 right now, and I can make this one also. So let's see which one of those it is. Obviously, it's not A, because A continue everywhere, and we don't have that here. Okay, so it's not A. Let's look at B or C and D, which one it is. Looking at the 3 graphs given, it's not C, it's not D, because see, our graph is going to be connected. I'm trying to move it down here. See, our graph is going to be, so looking at these graphs, I just want to explain why it's not D. It's not D because our graph continues. See, there's no open point here. It's open from the blue graph, but it's closed from the green, so it's kind of continue. So this place here, open circle, is not there. So that's why it's not the G. It's not the G. And let's see which one of the other one it is. So I'm gonna move, it's not D. Let's see B or C. We need to pay attention to the circles here. So I'm gonna move this so I can see both of those. There you go. So now comparing the 2 graphs, they look pretty much the same. You have 2 continuous lines, open circle, this is closed circle. So this is what you're gonna be careful here, the circles. So looking at my graph, I have closed circle here and open circle in the other one. So that's gonna be your right graph. See, if you look at your graphs here, this is the one that looks exactly like that. You see that? This one is backwards. This is different. Okay. So looking at those, comparing the 2 graphs B or C, and the graph we get, the right answer should be C. So the answer is C. And we can check that. I pick C. I'm gonna check the answer. And that's correct answer. Okay. So that's how you graph piecewise function. This is the lesson for today. Graphing a piecewise function. And you're graphing it when you graph each piece of the graph. Okay. So that's the material for today. I'm going to save the notes in the Canvas, in files. You can find it there. And please submit your homework 12. Okay. So that's what I have for today. Have a good day, and I'll see you in class at 9 o'clock on Wednesday.